My name is Jennifer. I am known as the Glam Reaper, and I am absolutely honoured and thrilled to be here today facilitating this. These three women beside me are powerhouses. Do not even just do it justice. I've seen them all in action in their various different roles. They are warm, they are powerful, and they're just incredible at what they do. And I'm not going to speak for them because we all know people speak for us enough. And so I'm going to let them introduce themselves. But we have Asada, Deborah, and Sabrina, and they are just incredible. And so I'm going to ask each of them in turn to just give us a little bit of information about themselves. So,
my name is Aisata Camara, and I am a representative of the City of New York. I work in the Mayor's Office for International Affairs, where I am a Deputy Commissioner and a Chief of Staff. And on a day-to-day basis, my work revolves around connecting New York City to the rest of the world, but also managing a lot of the diplomats that we have in our city and the United Nations. So if you're seeing an issue around the world, chances are that it passes through my desk, and we get to advise the mayor, we get to advise senior officials in New York in how to manage those key issues. Before that, I was in civil society, in philanthropy. I started my own nonprofit when I was in college, empowering women. So this event is really a homecoming for me because this is what I love to do. And I look forward to sharing my stories and to engaging with each of you. Thank you.
I am Reverend Deborah Northern. I am the Minister of Parish Care at the Riverside Church. I also serve as their Director of Social Services. So when you think about social services, all the direct delivery of services, from food, clothing, shelter, showers, case management, emergency assistance, in addition to serving as a minister, providing pastoral care and counseling, bereavement counseling, pastoral counseling, weddings, memorials, funerals, officiating those services, as well as our Sunday services. I've been serving there for 15 years, actually arrived there in October of 2008 as the Director of Social Services. I'm a licensed social worker, so that's how I landed that position as I was working towards ordination with the Presbyterian Church USA. So it's been a rich and wonderful journey for me. And excited to share any and all aspects of that journey with you. Great to be here. Thank you for coming out and braving the weather. God bless you.
My name is Sabrina Joins. First, I would like to thank Jennifer and thank my friend Alex and Lisa and Watermark. Thank you so much. And to all of you who weathered this storm, thank you. My name is, once again, Sabrina. I am a New York State licensed funeral director. I don't think I need any explanations on that one. Jennifer is a Glam Reaper. They look at me as a Grim Reaper. So, but I have been a licensed funeral director for 13 years. I am also an instructor and academic plan coordinator at the American Academy McAllister Institute of Funeral Service, where I have been working there since 2016. I love what I do. Being a funeral director can be very challenging, but to be there to help families during the darkest time of their life, to be a pillar of support to families, to guide them and help them celebrate the life of the person that they lost. It is truly a ministry. I don't find it as a job. It's a ministry. And I'm thankful to be called to do it. And to be an instructor and academic plan coordinator, helping those who wish to become funeral directors. So I'm giving back to the community, working with students and helping them and guiding them and having the opportunity to watch them as they go through the process of school, which is grueling. Oh, it's a lot of work. But to see them graduate and to become also licensed funeral directors and to also give back is very rewarding. I'm very big on mentoring. I'm also a part of various different committees. and the associations, New York State Funeral Director Association, the National Funeral Director Association, the Metropolitan Funeral Director Association. So I'm very involved in this profession because I love what I do. So of course, my goal is to learn as much as I can so I can then impart to others. So, and I'm also in school. Why I do this to myself? I'm currently enrolled in William Patterson University pursuing my Master of Business Administration, a concentration in human resource management, because that is something that is lacking in a lot of funeral homes. So I'm just taking this opportunity to give back and offer consulting and guidance to funeral home owners.
One of the main questions I want to ask these ladies is, in your respective industries, like a lot of industries around the world, it's predominantly white male dominated, right? So my question to you is, how have you come across any challenges or obstacles to do with that or not, that you've had to kind of plow through to get where you are today?
Absolutely. I probably can say, so let me just share a little bit. I am bivocational. So originally, I started to embark down the path of communications advertising, is what I felt a sense of, well, I was interested in. In high school, I had an English professor, a teacher, who indicated or introduced me to storyboards, and he thought I was good at it. So that was became my focus. Fast forward after college, realizing that I really didn't want to make money for someone who had money, and I wouldn't buy or sell a product that I wouldn't purchase myself. So just learning something about my own values and purpose. And so I knew I needed to be in a helping profession. And so social work, great. I knew I wanted to do this, and I knew I wanted a spiritual component to it, but I did not want to preach. Why? Because I don't like speaking before a whole bunch of people.
Well, you're doing great. So you're doing great.
But the truth of the matter is, so social work was one thing, but I think, so I delayed seminary for about a dozen years, 12 years. Loved the social work field and felt called, but I still had this kind of gnawing. And so returning to school, and I was 40, returning to school and attending a school that was predominantly white in a denomination that's predominantly white was challenging. And I think for me, the sense of belonging and connection, or the lack of feeling like a sense of belonging was a challenge. Having your voice stifled. I remember one of my classmates indicating to me after class, "You should speak up more. You have so much value, so much you can add." But interestingly enough, we both noticed I could say one thing, and then seems as if it falls on deaf ears, yet white male counterpart says the same thing, and it's like, wow. So those were some of the challenges in trying to come over that and get over that, and reminding myself of who I am, whose I am, and the purpose for which I'm there was huge. Like daily conversations and affirmations that you're not going to get from the outside world, speaking to self and being really prayerful about things.
So I come from a society, I come from West Africa, and I come from a society where men are definitely in charge. And so I will change your question a little bit to say, what is it like to work in a male-dominated field and also in a male-dominated society? I get to work with every country, and as we all know, different countries have their own opinions on the role of women and what we're supposed to do. In some places, we're to be seen and not heard. In some places, we're to be empowered. But I am a Black woman. I am a Muslim woman. I am many things that many people will think as others. And so when I first started working in the field of international affairs, where I had to share my story and share my voice, it was very interesting because I either got those male that thought that they were allies, but they were really mansplaining me, or I got the opposite where, as I was speaking, they wanted to be everywhere else but where I was and listening to what I was saying. And I think that it's really important as people, whether you're a woman or something else, that you really stand in your own power. And if someone else is not here to listen to you, if someone else does not respect who you are, you have to give yourself the respect and you have to prevent yourself from shrinking. So at first, like everyone else, as a young grad student, as a young college student, I shrank. I wanted to hide. And if I was speaking and they looked the other way, I will stop speaking because I felt that they were not interested. But I quickly learned that I needed to step into my own power. And the affirmations really help. I don't call them affirmations, but the self talk, the prepping yourself and telling yourself that you could do it definitely helped out. But I also found allies. I found sisters, I found brothers that really were interested in supporting me. And I built a community. And so now, in the role that I am in as someone who's in a senior position, I get to do that for others. So it wasn't only getting beyond it by learning to not shrink. I also now try to create the space for other women and for other people that are othered to be at the table and to be able to harness their voice.
Asada, one of the most memorable things that probably anybody's ever said, actually, when we were on a panel together, was that she found she didn't have a table to sit at. And so she built one. Yes, girl. Yes. Like, she built the chair, she built the table, and she sat at her own table. And I was just like, wow. I was floored by that for about a month afterwards. I still am, clearly.
Well, in funeral
Serena?
service, it was originally a male-dominated profession, a Caucasian profession. Now, more women are entering the profession. So a lot have changed. It's still pretty much a Caucasian profession. We do have a lot of African Americans. However, when you attend different conventions, and I don't see a lot of people looking like me, it is really eye-opening. But in funeral service, I have always been the person to say, well, listen, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to do it. So anything that I saw that I could apply for, I did it. So there was a leadership academy. I applied for it. The first leadership academy from the New York State Funeral Directors Association. And I received it. I received the scholarship, and I was the only African American woman in the first leadership academy. And I'm still, well, now I am, now was only 2 African American women now. The rest is Caucasian. And so I'm like, okay, that's fine. I don't care. I'm going for it. I'm going for it. But in being an instructor, there's so many women in my class now. And women are cleaving towards funeral service because of the profession of being, we're nurturers. Women are known to be nurturers, very maternal. So we want to help people. But a majority of the women still is Caucasian, not a lot of African Americans. And that's okay. That's okay. I know that more and more people will be entering into this profession. Have I had any challenges? A little, but I don't let that bother me. I just go for what I want. And that's it. I'm like, I don't care. There's gonna be a whole bunch of many. I don't care. I want it. I'm going for it. Why not? Have I dealt with some racism? I have, but I keep moving. You don't like me? Okay, that's fine. I keep moving. I'm still going. Nothing stops me from getting what I want. So and I don't care who's in the midst. But as you had mentioned, you made a table for yourself. That's what I'm doing. I'm making tables for myself. I'm making chairs, tables, and a whole living room setup. I'm not offended by that. Going to in the funeral service profession, a lot of people feel intimidated. A lot of African American people feel intimidated because if they go to a funeral home that is mainly Caucasians, a lot of times we are not hired because we don't fit that demographic of the people that they serve. Okay, but there's other funeral homes. So there is a difference, but I know that things probably will change because if more women are entering this profession, more African Americans will be entering the profession as well. And I just feel that I'm just positive about it. It's rough sometimes. You sometimes feel a little discouraged, but it's okay. That's how I see things. I'm like, okay, fine. There's other places to work. There's other places to you can start your own funeral home. In that case, this is a lot of people start their own. Not me. I don't want to, but but you could start your own funeral home and you can hire whoever you want. So, it's funeral service is a little different, it's different. I would say that.
And talking about the conventions and stuff like that, I think it's about finding allies as well. Whatever you're going through, it's finding allies. Like even on my podcast recently, I was talking to a lady and I was saying how, I've gone to those funeral conventions and I felt like a fish out of water. I was like, everyone was looking at me like I was odd. And I didn't see other people like me there. Like I was like, because I enjoy laughing and talking, and I was like, I can't find my people. But then when I found my people, it's more comfortable. And so now, 15 years into doing what I do, I have, we talked about this on the podcast where both of us made a statement. If you see us at the convention, you come to us, we will introduce you to people, because that's what I found. I'm actually, believe it or not, even though I'm sitting on a stage, I'm a bit of an introvert. And when I go to networking things, I just crumble. And so I need somebody, thank you, Alex, usually, to introduce me to people. And that's then when I start to build relationships and stuff like that. So I think it's finding allies, finding a person who is going to break that for you and just let you in and bring you in. I think that helps, definitely. And I was going to ask, about sort of gender and race issues in your fields, but I think we've kind of covered that. And so what I'd love to move on to next is, moving away from that a little bit, is why do you do what you do? I love the why. Like, why do you do what you do?
So I do what I do because I am a little bit crazy. I think so.
That's why we get on.
Right? Like some days I wake up and I'm like, oh yeah, Isata, couldn't you just go to the private sector and make money and just be happy? No, but to be serious, I do what I do because I love New York. And I love New Yorkers. And I love the story that New York City represents to the rest of the world. I came to New York with about $100. My dad, who is a magistrate, thought it was an interesting thing to do to his children. Is he will symbolically put you on a plane, give you $100, and say, "Go find your future." Very poetic until you come to New York and everything is expensive.
You pay for one Starbucks.
Right, exactly. Thank you to my sister who was here and helped me out. But what I'm trying to say is that I came to New York. I was an immigrant. I was undocumented. New York City gave me opportunities, and now I get to represent it for the world. And that's why I do what I do. But I also love the look on people's faces when they walk into a room and there's the most powerful city and it is being represented by a woman of color. Right? It's really something that changes the conversation. And that's why I do what I do. But another key reason is that I strongly believe that because we are one of the most influential cities in the world, we get to change the world. So by being in these spaces, I get to be a voice for those people that are often ignored, but I also get to be a bridge. I get to get individuals that never will have thought that they wanted to engage with another group and actually create that engagement and really create more happiness in the world and more understanding, because in politics a lot of the things that we do, everything is important, everything is urgent. If you talk to someone and they don't like it, it's not personal, it's like now New York City and X, Y, and Z places are having a problem, right? So being able to be human in that space, being able to be human in diplomacy, and being able to tell people the real truth and to change the image of what a woman of color is, what a New Yorker is, right? I have an accent. I don't know if you're hearing it. All of those things excite me, and that's why I do the work that I do. And at the end of the day, when I walk away from this, I would like to know that I made a difference in making New York, making the world more equitable, and making it more accessible for all types of people. So that's my
My
why.
why. This is a question I get all the time. How the world you became a funeral director? You don't look like no funeral director. Well, actually, this is why I tell people I became a funeral director honestly because of my late grandmother, the one and only Miss Maggie Tarver. At 5 years old, my grandmother took care of me. I came out of a single parent household. My sister, 17 years older than me, she was already grown. So it was just my grandmother and I. And my grandmother loved funerals. She attended funerals all the time. She didn't care whether she knew you or not. Sabrina, let's get dressed. We're going to a service. Are you kidding me? I want to stay home and watch cartoons. No, come on, put on your dress. We got to go to a service. We got to go to the church. We got to go to the funeral home. Hey, we get on the plane. We're flying to North Carolina. We're going to another funeral. So after attending so many funerals, I'm sitting there as a 5-year-old and 6-year-old, 7-year-old. I'm like, people crying. I'm seeing this. I'm seeing this person in this box. I don't know what it is. I'm looking around. What is going on? And then I knew the word funeral service. I was like, So as I got older, when she said time for a funeral, I said, okay, let's go to a funeral. Here we go. It was our outing until she went to a funeral of a person she didn't know and she got a little scared. But that's another story. She stopped that one. But by then, I was interested. I said, okay, back in the day, we had libraries, the Brooklyn Public Library. So I went to the library and I found a book called Careers in Funeral Service, and I kept renting the book over and over and over again, reading it. And I said, I think this is what I want to do. And so time went on, and I was in high school, and I applied to McAllister, got accepted, and I was told, I don't think that's for you. You're not good in school. You're not a good student. You're bad, really bad with these subjects. I don't know if you're going to make it. And I believed it. So I was told, you need to do something else. Go to school for fashion buying and merchandising. You could do that. I said, okay. Listening to people. Hated it. Hated my whole time there. Because I knew in my heart, I'm supposed to be a funeral director. And so things just happened in life, and I got accepted to this school 4 or 5 times and never went. So then I started working in nonprofit at the Ford Foundation. And I said, well, this is just going to be for a short amount of time. I'm going to leave, save some money, leave, and go to school. Well, 14 years later, I was still working at the Ford Foundation, but I knew I was supposed to be a funeral director. I said, I know this is my calling. And things happened where I was offered a package. Actually, I got my bachelor's degree 1 week. I was offered a package to leave this next week. And then I enrolled in McAllister, finally attending school to become a funeral director. So my why started when I was 5 years old. And I knew from there, since I waited so many years, I'm not going to tell you my real age, but I attended school in my mid-30s. You probably figure out, like, okay, 13 years, she was mid-30. Okay, we kind of see how old she is. But I never gave up on my dream. And it has been worthwhile. The wait. If you could wait that many years to do something, you know it's something you're supposed to do. because I could have just stayed in my comfortable job at the Ford Foundation, had all my days off, had all my vacation, had all these wonderful things, but I left all of it because I didn't have to take the package. But I said, this is my opportunity to run, so let me run. And I did it. So my why started with my grandmother, and her nickname I gave her was Funeral Groupie. Funeral Groupie. And she was able to see me graduate from McAllister. I was able to work at a funeral home, and my first day at the job, I came home. I said, Mama, it was my first day as a resident. She said, don't you touch me. I said, what? She said, you've been around those dead folks. Don't you touch me. I said, wait a minute. You're the reason why I'm doing this. Don't you touch me. I said, this is so funny. But I always tell this story. It was my grandmother who would take me to all these funerals, made me interested in funeral service. So that's my why. That's how I ended up here.
Well, you heard me share a little about a portion of my journey, thinking I'm going one way and going another. But I think it's a sense of calling. It's a gnawing at your spirit that you're designed for something in particular. And so for me, just helping, being a source of comfort and support, especially in some of the most challenging circumstances of a person's life, is no greater gift. That's the why. And it's organic. It is exactly, I didn't have to orchestrate any of it, really. I needed to follow the steps, and I was placed exactly where I was intended to be. And so that's my why. Aside from that, I mean, I really can't complain about the conditions, the circumstances, the ways in which people feel marginalized, hopeless, hurt, if I'm not willing to step in and do something. So
For me, and I'm not going to go into my whole reasoning, but just as a quick aside, because I just think it's hilarious now that I'm known as the Glam Reaper. When I was 15 years old, definitely didn't see funeral industry in my forecast. I worked at 15 years old. You know, it's not unusual for Irish people to work in a bar. My bar I worked in was called the Morgue. It was a bar. It was a bar. It was not the morgue. It was not a morgue, but it was called the Morgue. So in hindsight, when I look back at all these little nudges from the universe, it was like slowly trying to push me in a certain way. So anyway,